What's good, people? Getting everything set up. Y'all know what it is. Let's go live. Woo! We here. Welcome. We gonna wait for a couple of y'all to get on in here. Um, take a couple pictures while everybody tunes in. We appreciate y'all tuning in, Shawnee. We appreciate y'all tuning in, bro. Wait for a couple more people to come on in. Man, when I tell y'all that this game here was something crazy, what's up? What's good, people? What's good, people? What's good, people? Let me get my post out. Y'all know what it is. We're going to talk about all right, we here. We're going to talk about got a lot of things to talk about. Rivalry weekend. You got Thanksgiving. To me, rivalry weekend may be the best weekend in sports. We always talk about the sports equinox where you have football, basketball, and baseball and hockey in October. And I love NFL football. I love Thanksgiving football, but I don't know if anything football related tops rivalry weekend in college football. Literally every game is highly emotional, highly contested. I want to appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all go smash that like button. Ooh, check me out. Smash the like button. Make sure y'all go out and smash that like button. Like, follow, subscribe. Tune in. Dive Team Media Network. Got some things working. Working on our own server so we can get you guys some more content with the Splashcast as well as our political side with LOA and some other things we have in store. With that being said, man, we're going to talk about the NFL. We're going to talk about college. We're going to talk about, I really need to set up everything because if you give me a second, you got Clemson, South Carolina. You got Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Clemson, South Carolina. You got Tennessee, Vanderbilt. You got Michigan, Ohio State. You have all of these just great, fantastic games going on. I don't know who to pick, to be honest. But we'll get into it. We shall get into it. Gonna give you guys a reaction about the Georgia-Florida game. Y'all tune into your boy. As it says, we are live now. With that being said, man, how y'all feel about yesterday? Yesterday was crazy, wasn't it? First off, before we even get to Georgia Tech, Georgia, you had Colorado pretty much try to use Oklahoma State to send a message. They won 52-0. It really wasn't. It was more of a showcase and a celebration of Prime, Coach Prime, of Travis Hunter, of Shedeur Sanders, and everything that they've accomplished in the last 2 years at Colorado, out in Boulder. Now, no matter how you feel about them, what they've done is undeniable. To go ahead and turn this team around to a 9-3 team, 7-2 in the Big 12 after being 1-11 in 2 years. 2 years before, a year before he got there, pretty much changing the way that recruiting and being innovative in the way that he is recruiting and how the portal is recruited, as well as freshman high school players are recruited. Coach Prime has done a hell of a job. They win 52-0. Shedeur, 34-41, 438 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Webster, Wester, I'm sorry, transferred from, I think it was either FAU or Central Florida. 11 catches, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a career year. Travis Hunter, 10 catches, 3 touchdowns, 100+ yards, and an interception. First player in NCAA football history, I believe, to have 100 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception since 2002, 3, 4, maybe ever. And puts an emphatic stamp on his resume for Heisman Trophy winner. I think his odds went from 1,000. I think his odds went from, y'all hear my executive producer in the background, Reezy says hello. His odds went from from -400 to -1,000. And we'll get to Ashton Jeanty as they played as well. But Colorado, if it wasn't for running into the buzzsaw that is Kansas, the University of Kansas, the Jayhawks, who quietly is kept probably have a top 2-3 running back in the nation. If it wasn't for them running into that buzzsaw, I think that Colorado would have a strong resume to be in the college football playoff if they could have won especially if they won the Big 12. But alas, they need some things to break their way. They're not totally out of it yet, but with that being said, everything that they've done has been phenomenal out there in Boulder. Y'all let me know in the comments. Let me know who you think is the Heisman Trophy winner. I honestly don't know who to choose. I really, really like Travis Hunter. I think he's probably better than, well, that's hard for me to say as a UGA fan, but he is on the level of like Champ Bailey to me in college. I don't know about the pros. Champ Bailey was Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know if he won a Super Bowl. He might have won one with Denver. I can't remember. But Champ Bailey had more interceptions one year than some teams had touchdowns. I think he had 10 or 11 interceptions. So Champ Bailey was a beast. With that being said, in college, he was a two-way player. He was phenomenal. But even what Champ Bailey did, and Charles Woodson to a certain extent, what they did in college pales in comparison to what Travis has done, because Travis plays 100+ snaps a game. They were more, gadget is the wrong word, right? Gadget is the wrong word, but they were more like situational players. They came in when you needed a spark. Even Deion didn't play now in the 80s. Deion played college in the 80s. But even Deion didn't play as much offense as Travis Hunter did. Travis Hunter played 100+ plays every game that he played. I don't know if we'll ever see that again in this day and age, unless you go to Colorado, and Deion has alluded in the past, especially during the season, that they have 2 or 3 more Travis Hunters that they're recruiting, that they want to be able to play multiple positions. Do they get into the Big 12 championship? If they do, y'all gonna mess around and allow Colorado. I don't think Colorado loses the Big 12 championship if they make it. I don't think they lose it. And if they go and they win, and y'all allow Colorado to make it to the college football playoff, even as an at-large, if you believe in conspiracies and script writing of football, of sports, then you have to believe that would be in the cards. Because do you know how much money that would make if Colorado were to make the Big 12 championship and then the college football playoff? The amount of money is insane. So I hope for one that they make it. I hope they go. But again, Colorado beats Oklahoma State. You had the Egg Bowl, kind of a lackluster showing. Mississippi State started off, was up 14-10. I was driving home. I actually watched a lot of these games. I was coming home from Thanksgiving break in Louisiana. And Mississippi State was up 14-10, and then that defense from Ole Miss just shut them down. Now, Mississippi State has a freshman QB. There was a lot of close games. We all know the predicament that Michigan State was kind of put in with RIP to Mike Leach. He died suddenly, I think 2 years ago, and they've been trying to recover ever since. So we all know the position that they were put in, but even with that, being in the SEC, they don't have divisions anymore like the SEC West, the SEC East, but being in the SEC and now adding Texas and Oklahoma, that's tough. That's tough for Mississippi State. And then Lane Kiffin is staying at Ole Miss for at least one more year. That's tough. But they have a bright future. They have a solid quarterback in Van Buren. I think he's a freshman. He can move, he can run, he can throw. He had a hell of a game against UGA. I don't know what that means anymore because we don't know what UGA is. But Coleman Jr. had 6 catches for 118 yards and a touchdown. But Ole Miss proved to be a little bit too much for that team this year. But it's going to be interesting next year. But Ole Miss has a hell of a quarterback in the tuck too. So they won. They ended up winning 26-14, as you can, well, some of y'all can see. So it was a decent game. But I don't know, unfortunately for Ole Miss, because they blew it against Florida, and we'll get to Florida, because they blew it against Florida, they're probably not going to make the college football playoff. They're definitely not going to make the SEC championship. So hell of a season for Ole Miss. They seem like they're always on the cusp. They're always ready to take that next step, and they just never can. But you never know, man. We'll see how they fare. Let me move that down there real quick. All right. So then, in the battle of the other Heisman Trophy candidate, and I think this is the first year that I've ever seen a Heisman Trophy race where there's not really a quarterback. I guess Cam Ward would be it, but Cam Ward's luster has kind of faded because they lost to Georgia Tech. And I don't know if that's good or bad because of what Georgia Tech just took Georgia to last night. But when it comes to the Heisman, Ashton Jeanty, again, another 37 carries, 226 yards, and a touchdown. And, of course, you played Oregon State, who's 1-4 away in the conference, which is their conference, is the Pac-2, right? So they're 1-4 in the conference, and then 5-7. So they were supremely overmatched against Oregon State, against Boise State. But as a result, when you have these games like this, you have, like Colorado did against Oklahoma State, Boise State did the same thing against Oregon State. 37 carries for Jeanty, 226 yards and a touchdown. He had just as many rushing yards as Oregon State had passing yards. I don't know. No matter who you choose for Heisman, it's either you look at it as a win-win or a lose-lose. Both are having historic seasons. I think I saw a graphic that said Ashton Jeanty the only people that have seasons like at what Ashton Jeanty is doing. Shout out to our executive producer. The only people that have had seasons like Ashton Jeanty are Barry Sanders, Ricky Williams, Adrian Peterson. No, not Adrian Peterson. Barry Sanders, Ricky Williams, and there's another running back. I can't remember. And all of them have won the Heisman. But Travis Hunter is doing things we haven't seen done since the 40s. You haven't seen somebody play 200 plays since the 40s. So it's going to be a hell of a game, hell of a race for the Heisman. And don't discount Cam Ward. He can come back now he has a tougher game against Syracuse, which we'll get to later on. But don't discount Cam Ward. That's going to be a hell of a game too. But if he comes out and throws for 500 yards, I mean, he's the leading, they got the number one offense. Cam Ward has the number one offense. He leads the league in passing, I think. Leads the NCAA in passing. I think Shador's number 2. So, but again, this is the first year I haven't seen a quarterback really lead the Heisman. You know, quarterback in Heisman in college and MVP in the pros are named as a quarterback award. But Boise State, I think they have to go to they're in the MAC or WAC. I can't remember which one they're in. But I think they have a championship game to go to, but they're going to be the overwhelming favorite. And Ashton Genty, they're too close to lose. If they get upset, then that's just unfortunate. So Boise State pretty much has stamped their ticket. You have Memphis and Tulane as well, but that's not what we're going to talk about because Tulane, unfortunately, they lost to Memphis and they blew it. So you then have Georgia Tech in. This has to be the game of the year. This has to be the game of the year so far. In an amazing game. Georgia Tech jumps out 17-0 in the first half. 17-0. And I want to let y'all know, before we get into it, I was driving home from Louisiana, and I got home in the fourth quarter. I forgot my UGA lucky hat, and Georgia Tech was just running away with it. I got home in the fourth quarter, put on my UGA lucky hat. I'm not saying you have to believe in luck. I'm not saying you got to be superstitious. I'm not saying any of that stuff. But, hey, you see it. Lucky hat comes on, 21-10. 17. Georgia comes back from 17 down in the first half, 20-6 down in the third quarter. 17-6 down in the third quarter, 27-6 in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left to go. With 10 minutes left to go, 27-13 with 5 minutes left to go, and scores 21 points in the fourth quarter and comes back to win in what is easily game of the year. Haynes King, 26-36, 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, 24 carries, 110 yards, 3 touchdowns. Georgia Tech's receivers were great. Offensive coordinator was great. Defensive coordinator for 3 quarters was phenomenal. A lot of people were talking about the referees in this game. I am a proponent as a Georgia fan. I am a person that says this all the time. If you have to blame the referees for a loss, then you have to blame yourself for allowing it to come down to the referees. Georgia Tech had just as many miscues in the second half as Georgia had in the first half. Georgia was out there sleepwalking, and I blame Kirby Smart for it. I blame coaching. I believe Glenn Schumann is a little bit overrated. That defense did keep Georgia in the game because it really could have been 26-0, 23-0. It could have been much, much worse than it was, but the defense held their own for a little bit. Highly impressed with Georgia Tech. Highly impressed with their offensive coordinator who used to work at Georgia under Kirby Smart and under he's an Air Raid guy. And he worked under Todd Monken. So he knew that Georgia defense and scheme in and out. But I don't believe the referees were the turning point. I don't believe anything was the turning point. What helped Georgia win this game, if you want to say that there was help, is that y'all ACC folks going to be mad at me now, but I'm going to say it. It's a different brand of football in the SEC. One thing Georgia Tech has done is gotten bigger on the offensive line, but their skill positions are still really, really small on both sides of the ball. The corners, the wide receivers, the running backs, everybody's small. They don't have the big bell cow or big tight end. Well, their tight end is actually pretty big, but they don't have like a bell cow type person. And in the third quarter, Georgia just started, it became a fight. And Georgia Tech lost, 5 cornerbacks? They already came in minus their top cornerback. Then they ended up losing 4 more cornerbacks to injury. neck injury, concussion, knee, back. That was the turning point in the game. Everything else that happened after that, after those injuries, are a result of those injuries. If you look, Georgia started to be able to move the ball down the field a little bit more. They started getting the tight ends involved. At some point, they started getting the run game going because the Georgia Tech lost their middle linebacker, number 44, who to a shoulder injury. Those injuries, more than the refs, more than Carson Beck, more than the coaching, although all of those things were great, those injuries are what allowed Georgia to get back into the game. I saw and heard that they said Georgia punched their own ticket. Allegedly, because I don't know what the college football playoff committee is going to say, but allegedly Georgia will not be punished for whatever happens in the SEC championship game. No matter what, they're either going to get a bye or they're going to get an at-large. I'm going to let y'all know right now, I don't believe in none of that. Just like you can't leave the game up to the refs, you cannot leave your seeding and your spot up to the college football playoff committee. They have shown that they don't have a rubric. They're not consistent week to week when it comes to the rankings, and it's not necessarily the 12 best teams. So with that being said, I don't know what's going to happen. But back to this game. Kudos to, I said Glenn Schumann is overrated, but they coached a hell of a game in the third quarter. Aside from that 90-yard drive at the end of the third quarter to score for Georgia Tech that started the fourth quarter. The offense, Carson Beck, I'm not going to lie, I thought he was about to fold. Well, he was all distraught on the sideline. And these receivers, man, for Georgia got to get it together. Bell had all these drops. Arian Smith, man, your confidence with so much speed and potential, your confidence is so fragile. But you had a great end around to get the game going, just like against the Ohio State game in the playoff 2 years ago. You had a big play. But Arian Smith reminds me, ironically, not me, but he reminds me of a guy named Reggie Davis. There's a dude named Reggie Davis, number 81, that's what that played for UGA a while back. And he was good, but he had confidence issues. Super fast guy, but he had some drops. Same thing. Georgia scores 21 points in the fourth quarter, outscores Georgia Tech 44-25 to end the game. Georgia Tech's future is bright. That running game is crazy. 8 overtimes is crazy. That running game is crazy. What do y'all think about this new overtime rule? I forgot about the overtime rule changes. I forgot that you have to just go for 2 over and over and over and over again. Because that's why the score is only 44-42. Some people were referencing the Texas A&M LSU game from a while back that went 7 overtimes and the score was 74-72. That's because they were able to play. They had to go. You just went back and forth with trying to score a touchdown and go for 2 instead of just going for 2 every time. Masterful job of being able to work the timeouts in overtime. Kirby Smart called timeout every overtime just to see what they were doing every time. And it worked. It worked almost every time. Georgia Tech is going to be a thorn in the side of Georgia if they can hold on to their coach. If they can hold on to their coach and their offensive coordinator and keep those guys, and as a UGA fan, you know success will get you poached. If they can hold on to their team, to their coach, and they can work that transfer portal like they did. I was listening to that roster. Half their DBs came from Auburn, came from Florida, came from FAU, came from Texas A&M. Like they had so many Auburn. They had so many people transfer and make an immediate impact that the days of having a dominant run, I don't know if we'll ever have another dominant Alabama type run as long as the college football playoff and transfer portal is the way it is. I don't think we'll ever have that again. I think I honestly don't. There's no way. Georgia Tech hasn't been this good. They're 1-4 away, but the two of the games they lost away, one was to Georgia in the 8 overtime, and another one they lost like by a field goal or something. Georgia Tech is here to stay. With that being said, go Dogs. Go Dogs, go Dogs, go Dogs. I'm happy. Hopefully we can fix these slow starts. I don't know what it is with Mike Bobo. It was a perfect culmination of a terrible, terrible play calling, drop passes, bad throws, everything that happened in the first 3 quarters that I was just, oh, well, we going to lose. But Kirby, credit to Kirby, never got flustered. He pretty much predicted how this game was going to go. So shout out to UGA. They have made it. Let's get to the games of the day, though. We're going to start out with, you got Illinois. Let's see who's playing. You got Tennessee. Well, they've already started. Tennessee Vanderbilt. Tennessee is playing for a championship college football playoff appearance. If they make it to the college football playoffs, they win this game and make it. But real quick, Vanderbilt scores in 13 seconds, which makes me think that they took the opening kickoff back. Let's turn to it right now. I think Vanderbilt took the opening kickoff back, if I'm not mistaken. Or it's either a pick 6. I don't know, but I just turned to it. So Vanderbilt is already up 7-0. Oh, opening kickoff. Vanderbilt returns the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Tennessee is playing for their college football playoff lives, guys. They're playing for their college football playoff lives, and they are losing. So you got Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Illinois, Northwestern. We don't care. Michigan, Ohio State. This game is going to be closer than you think. I'm telling you right now, this game is going to be a lot closer than you think. I still think Ohio State wins this game, but Ohio State has not been impressive this year. Not to me. They should have beaten Oregon. They screwed that one up. They're one win away, one failed slide attempt and touchdown away from being 11-0. But they should have lost to Nebraska. They should have lost a couple other games as well. So, and Ryan Day quietly is kept. As good as Ohio State is, as a Georgia fan, I know how this is. You can be the number 2 team. You can be the number 3 team. You can be whatever you want to be. If you don't beat your rival and you don't win national championships when they're expected, especially at Ohio State with having the number 1 defense, one of the best defensive players, especially with having all of those pros. I think they put in like 10 receivers in the last 3 or 4 years. Having the number 2 recruiting class, top recruiting class, transfer portals, killing it, doing all of these things, and you lose. I understand why Ryan Day is feeling the pressure, especially losing to Michigan 3 years in a row. So his seat is quietly hot, but I got Ohio State winning this one by 9 or 10 points. I think they put it away with like a field goal or a touchdown by the end of the game. But they are playing in Columbus, so you never know. Maryland, Penn State. Penn State's going to blow this. They're going to blow Maryland out of the game. They should blow Maryland out of the water, which will then set up, I think, Oregon, Ohio State for the Big Ten championship. But Penn State will get the at-large, one of the at-large. Notre Dame, USC. Sneaky game for Notre Dame. Sneaky game. USC can stun Notre Dame. They're playing in the Coliseum. 6-5. When you're playing your rival, the best thing you can have when your team isn't that good is spoil your rival's season, and this would do it. There's no way Notre Dame makes it to the playoff if they lose to USC, who's 6-5, and they lost to Northern Illinois, and they don't play in a conference. You can't have 2 bad losses and no conference championship and make it to the college football playoff unless everybody else loses. Unless everybody else loses and it's just a wash, Notre Dame has to beat USC. They beat USC, they cheat their way in by not having a conference championship and all that stuff, and they get in. So I got Notre Dame winning this game. I like Marcus Freeman. Hopefully they win. I hate Notre Dame though, but I like the black coach. Miami versus, and y'all know how I feel about the blacks. Miami Syracuse. Trap game. Miami should make it to the ACC championship game if they win this. I think they've already clinched. They'll play SMU if I'm not mistaken. But this is a trap game. Syracuse is 8-3, 4-3 in the ACC. Clearly could be 5-2 or 6-1 if it wasn't for a bad bounce of the ball. Fran Brown has that team playing. Jackson Meeks, all those transfers from Georgia. I told y'all Jackson Meeks was good. And now UGA needs a couple receivers, but I told y'all Jackson Meeks was good. I think he leads the ACC in receptions and yards. If not, he's top 5 for sure. Miami better watch out. Playing in the Carrier Dome, it's going to be hot, even though y'all are used to heat. That's going to be a tough game, y'all. But if you win Miami, you go to the ACC championship, there's no pressure, and you pretty much solidified yourself. But Cam Ward, this is your chance to get back in the Heisman talk, man. This is your chance. SMU Cal, SMU going to steamroll them. SMU's about to buy their way to the ACC championship. They're 7-0. They'll end up playing Miami in the ACC championship game. And let me ask y'all a question. Miami wins and goes 11-1. SMU wins and goes 11-1. They play in the ACC championship game and have a thriller. And whoever, let's say Miami wins 55-53. Is there a world where you were talking about the ACC not getting anybody in to them getting 2 teams in now? Is there a world where that happens? I think there is. I think if Miami and SMU play and they end up playing in the ACC championship game, wow, Vanderbilt's about to score again. Oh, Tennessee. And they end up playing in the ACC championship game, and it's a barn burner, and the rest of these teams lose, the ACC will go from worst to first in a week if that were to happen. But I got SMU winning this game handily. Iron Bowl. How y'all feel about the Iron Bowl? Auburn fresh off a win where they feel that it is revitalizing their program. A building block win against Texas A&M. Going up against Alabama, who, for all intents and purposes, is done when it comes to the college football playoff. Losing 24-6 at Oklahoma, a team with a 500 record at best, basically with a backup quarterback. And you are overwhelming favorite. I think it's over with. With that being said, I don't think any of these Alabama players have lost to Auburn. I'm going to take Alabama here, y'all. But I am not convinced that this is going to be an easy game. And I would not be shocked if Auburn comes in there and beats Alabama. But Alabama is going to play with their hair on fire for the first. If they come out fast, it's over with. But if they come out tentative like UGA does and all that stuff, y'all better watch out. You better watch out. Arizona State. Sneaky big game. Arizona State wins this. There go to the Big 12 championship. Colorado needs Arizona to win. Colorado needs one of these teams, one of these other Big 12 teams to lose. I'm going to go with Arizona State here. They have a good defense. But Arizona is prime for a big game. Prime for a big game. Y'all watch this one. This is my upset special. I'm picking Arizona to beat Arizona State. Upset special. That's it right here. Arkansas, Missouri. Who cares? Missouri. Purdue, Indiana. Indiana's going to beat them by 100. Indiana has to beat them by 100. Unfortunately for Purdue, Indiana can't barely squeak by because they lost to Ohio State. Indiana has to beat Purdue big to make it to make sure that they solidify their spot in the college football playoff. It's going to be a rough day for Purdue. Washington, Oregon. Oregon is going to start out slow, and then they're going to beat Washington by 30 in the second half. Oregon rolls. Game of the day. Texas A&M. Who y'all got? Who you got? Texas A&M at home, 8-3, 5-2. Literally could be 9-2 if they didn't flounder against Auburn last week. Texas A&M is banged up. This is all guts and glory. Their best running back, their best offensive player out for the season, torn ACL. But Moss has been playing well. So, and then Texas, a lot of people don't believe in Texas, y'all. A lot of people don't believe in Texas because Texas has only really played one really, really, really good opponent, and they got blown out. Everyone else, they ain't play nobody. They played Florida with no DJ Lagway, if I'm not mistaken. They got beat 42-3. I mean, they beat Florida 40, but they didn't have no DJ Lagway. They had the Yale QB, right? Texas has to win this game to make the SEC championship. With Texas's strength of schedule, do they make the playoff even if they don't win? That's a good question, right? Texas has one of the worst strength of schedules in the nation. If you take the same metrics that you're grading Georgia on, that you grade Texas on, strength. Well, actually, they don't take those metrics because we don't know what they're doing. With the College Football Playoff Committee is who, when I say they, that's who I'm talking about. You have to think that Texas may be on the outside looking in. But Texas earns, again, y'all know me, Texas earns too much money for the College Football Playoff for them not to make it. So I with that being said, this game, though, I got Texas winning. Quinn Ewers is hurt, but you got Arch Manning just sitting in the tuck, ready to come in and throw for 500 yards. Steve Sarkisian, you know, I ain't really no big fan of you, big dog. So, but I think Texas takes care of business here in a barn burner. But y'all better not get down, though. Y'all better not get down. Another big game, Kansas State, Iowa State. Another team that Colorado needs to lose. They need Kansas State to beat Iowa State in order to. So for Colorado to make the Big 12 championship game, you need Iowa State and Arizona State or BYU. You need two of those teams, Iowa State, Arizona State, and BYU to lose. You need two of those three. All of that could happen. Kansas State can beat out Iowa State. Kansas State can put points on the board if they can run the ball. I like Iowa State. I like Iowa State's head coach. I'm surprised that he's still there. I don't think he'll be there much longer. Florida, if I were you, I would look at him for sure. If you're going to get rid of Billy after next year, I would look at him. I'm going to pick Kansas State. What's up, Nessa? I'm going to pick Kansas State here to beat Iowa State only because I want to see Colorado get in the Big 12 championship and win it. I want to see Coach Prime make the playoff to just screw everybody over and piss everybody off. Nessa, since you joined, and you are one of our dedicated listeners, I'm going to go real quick. I picked Ohio State over Michigan. I said Tennessee was going to beat Vanderbilt, but 14-0. I got South Carolina over Clemson. South Carolina quietly as kept could make it to the. Well, they can't now because they needed Georgia to lose. But South Carolina is the hottest team in college football, and if they beat Clemson, they have a quietly as kept. They have a case to make it to the college football playoff. They were cheated against LSU. Alabama had a miracle to win, and I think they lost to they blew out Texas A&M, who could possibly be in the SEC championship game. South Carolina has a legit argument to be an at-large team if they can beat Clemson. I'm going with South Carolina. We were rocking with South Carolina and South Carolina State all year. Let's go. We don't care. I picked USC over I picked Notre Dame over USC. My upset special was Arizona over Arizona State. And I'm picking Kansas State because I want chaos. I want Kansas State to beat Iowa State. That's really all I want. Top 25, and then of course you have BYU and Houston. This BYU and Houston game ain't gonna happen. It's over with, bro. You can go ahead and give it a rest. BYU is gonna beat Houston, and then they're gonna have to play Colorado. So this is the top 25. I'm gonna go to some black college football because I gotta go to the Bayou Classic. Y'all not gonna get to me? There you go. Bayou Classic, Grambling Southern. Good, one of the biggest HBCU rivalries ever. Maybe the biggest classic. It was for a long time. The Florida Classic is probably number 2. FAMU, Bethune-Cookman. I think Alabama A&M, Alabama State is a big one. Prairie View versus Texas Southern is a big one. But Bayou Classic on NBC today, 2 p.m. Eastern time. I'm rocking with the Jaguars. I'm rocking with the Jaguars to beat the Tigers. Ain't no question. Grand Southern gonna win, and then they gonna go play Jackson State in the SWAC championship next week, which would be a hell of a game. Hard to beat a team twice in one season. So you got that as well. Then they'll play the winner of the SWAC championship between Jackson State and Southern. Will then play South Carolina will then play probably the best team in HBCU football in South Carolina State in the Celebration Bowl, which I told y'all was going to happen. That was my pick. So those are my picks. I'll run down the top 25 picks for y'all one more time for those that are just joining. I picked Tennessee over Vanderbilt. Obviously, I'm going to be wrong on that one. I picked South Carolina over Clemson. I don't care about Illinois versus Northwestern. I picked Ohio State over Michigan. I picked Penn State over Maryland. I picked USC. I picked Notre Dame over USC. I picked Miami over Syracuse. Close. I picked SMU over Cal. I picked Alabama over Auburn. I picked Arizona over Arizona State. I picked Missouri over Arkansas. Indiana's going to wash Purdue. Oregon's going to wash Washington. I got Texas winning, y'all. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be super close. I got Kansas State over Iowa State, and then I got BYU over Houston. Let's go to the NFL real quick because I definitely want to watch some of these games, and I got some work to do. So let's go to, while it pulls up, we're going to go to the NFL. We saw we got the game of the week, of course, which is going to be the Ravens versus the Eagles. But before, the Bears blow it. The Bears, if you follow us on Instagram, if you follow us on all our socials, remember, like, follow, and subscribe. The Splashcast, 23-20. I got the Lions beat the Bears. The Lions should have lost that game. The Bears should have come back and won that game. Eberflus, I knew it as soon as he said Caleb Williams, all of that stuff at the end of the game, changed the play and all of that stuff. I knew he was going to get fired because there's no way you should end the game, a close game, with a chance to tie, go overtime, or win the game with a timeout. You don't allow that. You call timeout when you see the confusion. You don't do that as a head coach. That is squarely on Matt Eberflus. You can't do that. So it is what it is. Now, GM, I think it's Ryan Toll. Hey, for the Bears GM, we love you, black man. We love your story. You decided to get into the business of football after you got cut as an undrafted free agent, and you rose up the ranks really fast. Ain't nobody else to fire after the head coach goes. He done fired the offensive coordinator and got rid of the defensive coordinator. All of those things. I think you fired Lovie Smith, if I'm not mistaken, when you first got there. There's nobody else to fire, dog. It's all on you. You better pick this next coach correctly. And you better figure out a coach and a quarterback coach that could teach Caleb Williams to play in the pocket. And you better draft an offensive line. I don't trust your evaluation of offensive linemen because your offensive line is just as bad or worse than when you had Justin Fields. And y'all called Justin Fields awful. Y'all scarred Justin Fields. You are the reason that Justin Fields is not good because you refused to put anything else around him, and you thought Caleb Williams was going to come in and save the day, and you put all these receivers around him, but you hired that terrible offensive coordinator. There's nobody else, big dog. Bears, y'all better figure it out. Cowboys beat the Giants. Let me tell y'all something, Cowboys. Y'all beat the Giants. The Giants are 2-10. There's no way, Micah Parsons, that you should be like, we coming. We here. We heard all y'all talking trash. Y'all beat the 2-10 Giants who played Drew Lock. We don't even know the name of their running back or their wide receivers, except for Malik Neighbors, and y'all won 27-20. Almost blew the game, to be honest. So while this was a big win for y'all, in terms of morale, y'all are 1-5 at home. That was y'all first home win. Y'all first home win came in week 13. We'll see going forward, but I don't see y'all making the playoffs. Dolphins, Packers, we knew this was going to happen, right? Dolphins can't play in cold weather. We knew that was going to happen. I was just happy Tua didn't get hurt. Chiefs, we have an offense that wants to tank and a defense that wants to fight. Do you have a defense that wants to fight? Do you? Sneaky. Raiders, Chiefs. I saw the jokes, y'all, that the Georgia Bulldogs are the college football Chiefs. I saw the jokes, but the thing about that is they're both 2-time champions. Chiefs 3-time champions, if I'm not mistaken. Back-to-back, and they won before that, too. 1913, Raiders should have won this game. Brock Bowers, 10 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown, almost single-handedly beat the Raiders by himself. Beat the Chiefs by himself. They could not guard him. They put a safety on him, he's too big. They put a linebacker on him, he's too fast. He can block, he can catch. He is the best tight end in the game next year. You would assume. The best tight end has been Kelsey or Kittle. That's always been the best tight ends. We always think and want Kyle Pitts. Brock Bowers is what we wanted Kyle Pitts to be. He's what we wanted Kyle Pitts to be. He is a monster. And they almost pulled this off. If it wasn't for an errant snap at the end of the game. That was it. That Raiders defense is for real. Clavon Chason was killing the Chiefs tackles. The Chiefs, I don't care, 11-1, 6-0, 12-0, don't matter. Them offensive tackles are atrocious. They are awful. They got beat with the same move 4 plays in a row. 4 plays. Chason didn't do anything different. He did the same thing 4 times in a row. And they're taking away that little cheat of y'all, too. Y'all can't line up in the backfield as an offensive tackle. That's kicking y'all ass, low key. But that fumble at the end of the game, I mean, par for the course. But that's what winners do, and that's what losers do. Winners find ways to win. Losers find ways to lose. The Chiefs are 11-1 and 6-0. 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls because they are winners. The Raiders are 2-10, 1-6 away. Terrible because they are losers. But they're on the cusp of being winners. They just need a quarterback. Everybody said it was going to be Shador, right? You saw Brian Daboll. Shout out to the follow. You saw Brian Daboll was out there evaluating Shador. Raiders might get poached again. They got poached by the Falcons, and now they might get poached by the Giants. Chargers, Falcons. Let me tell y'all something. I'm a Falcons fan. Y'all see it in the background over there, right? Y'all see the little helmet right there. The Falcons are teetering on flopping away the division, flopping away the playoffs, and flopping and choking and flopping the season. We do get our offensive center back, Drew Dahlman, and it is night and day when he's in the game. He makes all the calls. Our offensive line looks settled. Our offensive line, thanks for the follow. Our offensive line looks relaxed and they know what they're going to do. When he's not in the game, we look flustered. Our defense is god-awful. Everything that Terry Fontenot, I'm going to say it every week. I don't care if y'all sick of me saying it. I don't give a damn. Everything that Terry Fontenot refused to address is coming back to kick your ass this year. You didn't go and get linebacker depth. Our linebackers are atrocious. They're bad. Caden Ellis is not an in-space linebacker. He should be a rush end. You refuse to address the defensive end position. You went after Azeez Ojulari when you could have got all these other people. Talked about it before. I'm not going to rehash it much, but I'm going to get these takes off. You could have went and gotten. I am a big Kyle Pitts fan because when he flashes, and he's had to play with two terrible quarterbacks for 2 years after having a 1,000-yard season with Matt Ryan. But at some point, you got to evaluate your roster, and you got to look and be able to say, okay, I can maximize Kyle Pitts in a trade and get a defensive end. You didn't go get a defensive end. You drafted a quarterback at pick number 8. You could have got Latu. You need a number 2 corner. You were going to roll with Mike Hughes, who has been a nickelback his entire year. Right? You decided to roll out with Caleb McGarry. He be getting his ass kicked in pass protection. You decided to go spend all that money on Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles injury and he can't move. You didn't get a defensive end. You didn't get linebacker depth. You didn't make a move for a corner. You didn't do it in the draft. You didn't do it in free agency. You didn't do it at the trade deadline. You're getting your ass kicked at second corner. You're getting your ass kicked at the defensive end position. We don't get any pressure on the quarterback. And all they do is just destroy our linebackers in passing, in coverage. The 3 things that you did not address are the reasons that the Falcons are 6-5 when they could be 8-2. That's the reason. There's no other reason. All of this comes down to you not addressing personnel's decisions. With that being said, let's step right on over to Jimmy Lake. What the hell, Raheem? What the hell, Jimmy Lake? Bro, you out there looking like we playing 7-on-7. Making no adjustments. No adjustments at all. We're awful. Sean Payton, I knew we were going to lose to the Broncos because the Broncos have a really good defense, one. But Sean Payton hates the Falcons. Hates them. Despises them. Will never like them. As much as I hate the Saints, he hates the Falcons. And he's one of the best play callers in the league. Bo Nix, Sean, my bad, big dog. I laughed at you for saying that Bo Nix was your guy. I get it now. Bo Nix just not going to make any mistakes, which is what he was at Oregon. He was a turnover machine at Auburn. But he cleaned it up. He figured it out. And at Oregon, he figured out how to not turn the ball over. And he cooked you. Falcons, Jimmy Lake, another team. The Chargers. Y'all lucky that my co-host ain't on here because I've been roasting him about Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey is the real deal. He's a route runner. He's quick. He's reliable. He catches the ball. The Chargers, Khalil Mack beat us by himself last year. He got a strip sack, fumble. He stole the ball from our running backs. He's that guy. We didn't go get him. He was unhappy. We didn't go trade for him. Jim Harbaugh comes there and instills toughness in that team, which is all the Chargers really needed. They've always had skill positions. Quentin Johnson is now all of a sudden can catch the ball all of a sudden, right? He couldn't catch the ball coming out of TCU. Now he's catching the ball. Jim Harbaugh is a great coach, and he has that team playing well in the AFC West. And they're probably going to make the playoffs because they're 7-4. Coming to the Falcons, y'all better run the ball. Y'all better run the ball, and you better call good plays. Offensive coordinator. Can't think of your name right now, but I don't need to know your name to know that, hey, you looking like the Mike Bobo of the pros, dog. You either real good or you real awful. It's no in between. Kyle Pitts, you better man up. You know I'm rocking with my Falcons. I ain't never not picking the Falcons because I'm biased. But objectively, I think the Chargers may get this done. But I'm picking the Falcons. Let's move on. Steelers-Bengals tomorrow. Trap game for the Steelers. Steelers can't really score a lot of points. They are the 2024 version of the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. Am I wrong? They play a lot of defense. They score 15 to 17, 20 points a game. And the defense bails them out at the end of the game. And Russ throws deep passes. That's it. Now they're talking about trying to get Justin Fields to change positions. The Steelers DBs, the Steelers will smother the Bengals. They have the DBs to do it. I hear you that I see y'all in the comments. I know that the Steelers will smother the Bengals and have the DBs to do it. But Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are special, and we are witnessing one of the great wastes of all time. Jamar Chase has 1,000 yards receiving. 1,000. He is on pace to challenge Jerry Rice. Is it Jerry Rice? Is Jerry Rice 2,000 yard season? I think. And Calvin Johnson. He's on pace to challenge those receiving records. And they're 4-7. Joe Burrow could throw the ball for 5,000 yards this year, and they could end up with a losing record. They only need to lose 2 more games to have a losing record. See, I think for y'all being in comment about Joe Burrow saying the conversation about Joe Burrow is going to change, I think y'all being haters. I think Joe Burrow is legit. I think the Bengals are a trash organization. I think they're awful. I don't know what it is. You can't have this many generations of good receivers. You can't have Chad Johnson and TJ Who's your mama? Who's Manzada? I know how to say it. But TJ Who's your mama? And Carson Palmer. You can't have these good teams. You have Trey Hendrickson. I think he leads the leagues at sacks, or he's like number 3. You have a top receiver, a top quarterback, a top defensive end, and you can't be good. I don't want to hear that you play in the AFC North. That's cool. Whatever. The Browns there too. And the Browns out there was playing with Nasty Man. And now they're playing with the pastor. Not playing with the pastor, but they out there. The quarterback is the pastor and Jameis. J-Boo. Shout out to you, big dog. There's no possible way that the Bengals should be 4-7. And I'm telling y'all, if the Steelers come in there and think they're just going to destroy the Bengals, got another thing coming. I'm still picking the Steelers, though. Said all that to pick the Steelers, right? Cardinals, Vikings. Has there ever been a more questionable 9-2 team than the Vikings? The Vikings are 9-2, 4-1 at home, 6-5, but the Cardinals 2-3 on away. The Vikings defense and that scheme is absolutely terrifying to watch, to play against. Brian Flores is so good as a defensive coordinator that y'all forgot that he got a whole case against the NFL. That's still ongoing, if I'm not mistaken. Right? It's still going. Sam Darnold, Scam Darnold, as my co-host calls him, is out there about to be... I mean, people don't play in the Pro Bowl anymore, so he's going to end up being a Pro Bowl alternate. And they just signed Daniel Jones, and they still got J.J. McCarthy in the tuck. They're going to beat the Cardinals, but it's going to be closer than you think. I hate saying that all the time because we're in the part of the season where every game's going to be close. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is for real. Sam Darnold has thrown for almost 2,800 yards, 21 touchdowns. He has 10 interceptions. Aaron Jones quietly is kept is going to rush for 1,500 to 1,600 yards this year. He's averaging 4 yards a carry, and then of course you have Justin Jefferson, and that's where the Cardinals are going to sputter in this game. They're not going to be able to stop the Vikings offense, but that Vikings defense is crazy. So I got the Vikings here. Colts Patriots. Do I really got to talk about this game? Y'all want to talk about this game for real? Okay, Anthony Richardson. This is your chance. You can't go in there and get blown out by Drake May. Colts, you better run the ball. One thing that the Patriots can do is play a little bit of defense. Indianapolis is a 2.5 point favorite, 42 points. So they're looking at like a 22-19 type game. Jonathan Taylor's going to run the ball. It's going to be cold. Do not bet. This is a do not bet. Seahawks, Jets. Seahawks. I don't believe in the Jets. I don't believe in Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers needs to go away. Uh, Zachary Taylor Thomas is laughing at y'all. I got the Seahawks winning. Geno Smith leads the league. I think he's got 3,000 yards passing, but he's quietly, Geno Smith is Jameis Winston. He's got 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He's on pace to throw for 24 touchdowns and 24 interceptions and 5,000 yards, which is a push. But the Seahawks get this done because the Jets are in disarray. And the Jets are getting what they want. The Commanders and the Titans. This, if I had to pick an upset special, this would be it. I know y'all are looking at me like the Titans are 3-8. You can't tell me that you believe in all and what's his name? What's the Mayo eating guy? You can't tell me you believe in him. I don't. But I believe in this Titans defense. This Titans defense, because they're 3-8 and 2-4 away, and they're 3-8, I think that people aren't paying attention to how good Sweat and Justin Simmons are. And Harold Landry. That defensive front is ridiculous. L'Jarius Sneed may not be having the year that y'all are paying attention to, but he's still a good corner. L'Jarius Sneed. This is my upset special. I'm picking the Titans over the Commanders. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Texans, Jaguars. Texans. Jaguars about to move to London. Jaguars suck. Now, CJ Stroud, this is your slump buster game, big dog. This for you to get out of there. Texans, y'all better run the ball. Joe Mixon needs to get the ball. He needs to get the ball because if you try to drop back against the Jaguars, one thing that they can do with those 37 defensive linemen that they play with Ryan Nielsen is they can rush the passer. You better run the ball with them. Houston is only a 3.5 point favorite, and the Jaguars are 2-9. That tells you something. Sophomore slump. This is your slump buster game. Get out of there. Let's go, Rams. Beat the hell out of the Taints. Beat them. Let's go. I don't have no analysis except for I hate the Saints. I hate them. They suck. Boo them bums. Let's go, Rams. Let's go, Rams. Also, Matthew Stafford is playing a hell of a game. Cooper Kupp is on pace to have 110 catches for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's for Norwood, who keeps saying that Cooper Kupp was ass. As well, and then you got Puka Nacua back. The Rams quietly have weathered that injury storm. They weathered that injury bug, and if they can beat the Saints, the NFC West is wide open. I think the Niners suck because everybody's hurt. The Cardinals and the Seahawks are 6-5. The NFC West is probably going to be the best division to watch in terms of coming down to the wire, that in the NFC South, because the Bucks have weathered that injury storm too. They got Mike Evans back. They are 5-6, and because the Falcons have laid eggs against teams that they were supposed to win, they're playing against the Panthers now. The Panthers got a little bit of confidence after they should have beaten the Chiefs. I need the Panthers to win this game. I'm going to go Panthers here because I need them to beat the Bucks so that the Falcons can continue to try to win the division. It's the only reason I'm picking the Panthers. Otherwise, I would pick both of these teams to lose with pain and strife. But for this Sunday only, let's go Panthers. Baker Mayfield is being Baker Mayfield. This is a Norwood special. Shout out to him. He called this game. He called that Baker Mayfield was still good. Baker Mayfield, I believe, was on pace for 4,500 yards, 48 touchdowns, around 40 touchdowns, around 15 to 16 interceptions. He got 2,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 INTs this year. Now, the Panthers' defense is good. It's decent. I ain't going to say they're good. They're decent. But the Panthers, this is a trap game for the Bucks. I need the Panthers to win. 49ers, Bills. We going Bills. Brock Purdy does come back, but I think the 49ers are just too injured. They're too injured. And the Bills, Josh Allen is not an MVP, but he's in terms of stats, but he is carrying this Bills team. They're 9-2. They're 9-2. They're 5-2. They're 5-0 at home. And they're playing a California team in that Buffalo snow at 8:20 at night up there in Canada. 49ers not going to win this game. Then you got Browns, Broncos. Jameis, I want you to win because I don't like Bo Nix. I don't like Sean Payton. But the Broncos going to give y'all that work. They're going to give y'all that work. Unless Myles Garrett decides to show y'all that he's the defensive player of the year. Or he wants to be. And then, of course, I skipped it. But the game of the possibly a year. Eagles, Ravens. 9-2 Eagles, 5-1. 8-4 away. 8-4 Ravens, 4-1 at home. Strength on strength. The Eagles are a top 5 team on offense and defense. And they don't even have Devontae Smith. Battle of the top 2 running backs. Whoever has the better game here probably has the inside track on the rushing title. This is the running back game, the resurgence of the running back. When y'all say running backs don't matter anymore, and the Giants decided to give their rival Saquon wanted to come back. All you had to do is just give him $13 million. Y'all tried to give him 10. $3 more million, and Saquon is still on the Giants, and the Eagles are probably 7-4, 6-5, firing their coach. But you gave him Saquon, who just had a 300 and something yard game. And now the Eagles are 9-2. And they're looking like they're poised to make another Super Bowl run. Just 3 weeks ago, they're talking about they've won what, 7 in a row? Beginning of the year, they're talking about firing Nick Sirianni. General managers, man, Chicago, Atlanta, New York. 1 or 2 decisions can change the trajectory of your season. You go from lottery to Super Bowl. I am always going to rock. And I don't even know who to rock with. Both of them got black quarterbacks. Both of them got black running backs. Black wide receivers. The Eagles do have the great white hopes in Blankenship and Cooper DeJean. Shout out to y'all. See, the Falcons, we always say the Falcons broke the draft, but you ended up screwing the draft up so bad that they got Quinyon Mitchell, who looks like the new Darrelle Revis. And then you got Cooper DeJean. I don't even know who to compare him to because I don't think Jason Sehorn was that good. I think he was just white. So I'm not going to disrespect him by comparing him to Cooper DeJean. But Cooper DeJean is a beast. Everything that we thought he was in college, the way he was going to be in the pros, he is. And we're going to talk about the bias, because he's white and he's playing corner, we thought he wasn't going to be good. We're going to switch him to safety. No. With him in, they were playing with a 7th round pick, undrafted guy at corner because they didn't want to play Cooper DeJean. They put him in, and their defense just took off. Jalen Carter is a beast. The Ravens defense is not that good. I want to pick the Ravens, but I'm picking the Eagles here. I think the Eagles defense is too good. I think the Ravens offense is good, but I think the Ravens defense is not going to be able to stop the Eagles. Picking the Eagles here. Game of the week. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. End of Saturday Morning Live. Tennessee just gave it back to Vanderbilt again. Wow. Let's see the scores of this NCAA football game. See, low key, I kind of want to just turn on these games and, oh yeah, well, OSU's about to beat Michigan. They up 3-0. It's only 3-0 in the second quarter. Clemson's up on South Carolina. Vanderbilt's about to blow Tennessee out. They're not quiet if they're not careful. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I've come to the end of Saturday Morning Live. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Championship week. I think it's Big 12, SEC, ACC, Big 10. All of those championship games are next week, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all want to look at the college football rankings real quick? We can. College Football Playoff Associated Poll. So you got the rankings. Tennessee is getting smoked right now. Georgia wins. They're probably going to stay the same. And they punch their ticket. If Tennessee loses, they're out. Which means that then opens the door for a Clemson. Or, I told y'all, or that opens the door for South Carolina. If South Carolina can beat Clemson, and Clemson and then Indiana, South Carolina needs a lot to happen. But if South Carolina wins, they're number 15 and they have an impressive resume. If South Carolina wins, Tennessee loses. That means they would have beaten Clemson. Tennessee would have lost. I don't think anybody believes in Alabama, and I don't think anybody believes in Ole Miss. Let's look at South Carolina. Who have they lost to this year? They lost to LSU. They were cheated. They got destroyed by Ole Miss. Cool. They lost to Alabama on a last-second field goal. 2 of the 3 games that they've lost, they really could have won, and they should have beaten LSU. South Carolina, I'm telling y'all, South Carolina can do it. South Carolina can win if they beat Clemson. They got to beat Clemson, though, because they're down 7-0. They got to beat Clemson, and if some things fall the right way, they're going to get an at-large bid. And let me tell you, nobody wants to see South Carolina. Nobody. Not Georgia. Not nothing. Nobody wants to see South Carolina, because if you think that you can, they have the best defensive front in football. Bar none. From what I've seen, they have the best defensive front in football. And if you let them get in, they are going to go on a run, because they're going to have to end up playing like Boise State. And they're going to beat Boise State. They're going to have to end up playing like, I don't know, Indiana. South Carolina going to beat Indiana. They would have to end up playing somebody like SMU or Miami. South Carolina can beat SMU or Miami. That defense, I am a believer in South Carolina's defense. And if y'all mess around and let South Carolina, they got to beat Clemson, and they're down again 7-0. But if they beat Clemson and this Vanderbilt game holds up where they beat Tennessee, all of a sudden 15 becomes 13. That's 2 teams. You assume those 2 teams fall out if South Carolina wins. So now 15 goes 14-13. Ole Miss won, but nobody believes in Ole Miss. Alabama, you need Auburn to beat Alabama too if you're South Carolina. And you need one of these Big Ten teams to lose. Ohio State, Oregon, or whatever. Or Texas. You need Texas to lose. I'm telling y'all, South Carolina can do it. I really want to see South Carolina get in. We've been riding with South Carolina, the whole state, for the on the Splashcast all year. South Carolina State is in. We do believe in Shane Beamer. He is recruiting and coaching well. If Sellers, their quarterback, can be any type of good, South Carolina can do this, y'all. South Carolina can do it. But all right, y'all. It's 12:56. I've given y'all an hour of the greatest college football day of all time. Yearly. I'm going back. I'm about to watch these games. I got some work to do. Tune in on Monday. Have a lot to talk about. Remember, like, follow, and subscribe. Follow Dive Team Media Network. You see it up here in the corner. What is it, this way? Yeah, you see it in the corner. Or if you're on YouTube, it's down there. Like, follow, subscribe. Dive Team Media Network. We're coming out. I told y'all before, we're coming out with our own server. You'll be able to join. You'll be able to donate. You'll be able to help us grow. If you want to be part of Dive Team Media Network, we already got the political side with LOA. If you want to join and talk about that, if you want to talk about, we're working for some of our lifestyle stuff. We have a lot of good people. We have a lot of financial literacy and entrepreneurship negotiations going on. We are trying to be a one-stop shop for news and networks, for news and information and content that you can relate to, right? It's for us, the millennials. This is what we want to be. And for the next generation to inspire. With that being said,